everyone, and welcome back, guys, to episode 56 of the Knowing Wheel podcast. Yes, today we're here back, ready to review the Spanish Grand Prix. As always, Jamie has found his way into the Discord call and will be joining me therefore. How on earth are we doing, mate?
I don't know how it keeps happening, really. But yeah, I'm good. I'm here to talk about the Spanish Grand Prix and some other stuff as well. So
yes, yeah, I don't know what else Jamie's going to be talking about today because that was the only thing on my agenda. But, you know, we'll gloss over that. Of course, as always, though, before we dive into all of the nitty-gritty from the Spanish Grand Prix, if you're watching this on YouTube, hello, Jamie, give the camera a wave, please, as well, so I don't look completely psychopathic. Definitely did. Good. You know, if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely recommend go checking us out on Spotify as well if you want to help support the podcast. We've actually done pretty well over there in recent weeks.
Don't sound so surprised.
Yeah, no, I'm loving sort of the progress we're making with the podcast at the moment. So yeah, massive thank you to all of you guys that continue to check it out. As well, of course, check out Bybit if you're interested in that. Manscaped, there will be that down in the description below as well. And then also, obviously, clips. We're going to try and get back into clips as well again this week. Anything that I'm forgetting, Jamie? F1 merch. Go check out F1 merch as well. They did some brilliant lines for the Spanish Grand Prix, and there's going to be even more cool stuff dropping for Monaco this weekend. I am absolutely sure of it. But before we even got into the Grand Prix this weekend, Jamie, there was a bit of controversy, wasn't it, when Aston Martin rebranded their car as the Green Red Bull?
Yes, and they'd been bigging up this B-spec car quite a lot in the media, and then covers broke, and it was a carbon copy of the Red Bull, in terms of bodywork shape anyway. But yeah, this team has a bit of history doing that, obviously, with 2020 Mercedes. But yeah, it was very interesting on Twitter. I loved the Red Bull staff on the pit wall all had the green versions of the Red Bull.
That did make me chuckle on Friday.
Very, very good from Red Bull, that. But unfortunately for Aston, it didn't really seem to make much difference.
No.
We'll see if it goes anywhere in terms of like if Red Bull press charges or whatever. But I don't think they will really.
Press charges?
Like, it's not a criminal case,
not
is
it? It's not a criminal offence.
Sebastian Vettel's getting arrested.
Oh, dearie me. The podcast is already off the rails and we're 2 minutes in.
We're done.
This week. There we go. That's the podcast cancelled. But yeah, of course, Spain, though, I'm going to try and recover that, Jamie, from wherever you've just taken it. Spain, of course, though, often the first sort of real race we see a lot of upgrades, and every team came to Spain with at least some upgrades, with the exception of the American boys. And when I saw that on Friday morning, I thought, well, this is where Haas's season falls apart and everyone overtakes them.
To be fair to them, they did do one thing, so I saw, which was to stiffen the floor, and that solved all of their porpoising.
Nice.
So they actually made quite a lot of progress just by getting a stiffer,
by putting some rubber bands around their floor so it can't move.
Yeah. So yeah, Haas were okay. Everyone else bought upgrades. Aston were claiming like a second or something. Ferrari were claiming half a second. Oh, it was all absolute rubbish. But there we go.
Yeah.
This is Spain for you.
And a team that have been fairly quiet, actually, pre-weekend was actually Mercedes. And there was rumblings around, wasn't there, saying, you know, perhaps they have made a big difference with their car at the moment. And
through the Friday sessions.
Yes, exactly.
Seemed to be a bit of credibility.
Exactly. I mean, there wasn't a huge amount of exciting things that went on during free practice. I guess the only sort of other real talking points was obviously Yuri Vips, Nick de Vries and Robert Kubica all were out there. One thing I did want to say about Alfa Romeo that I thought was quite odd was why did they get Kubica in Zhou's car rather than Bottas's?
I guess for setup stuff, Bottas will give better feedback, so you want to give him more time in the car. Like, because he's the one who's basically going to be driving where they take the car setup.
Yeah.
I guess. And, like, it's not a difficult track. Like, everyone knows Spain. They did hundreds of laps there.
Yes. Yeah, that's very true.
So it's not like Zhou has never driven there before. And he's driven there even before he was a Formula 1 driver.
Yes.
In a Formula 1 car.
Yeah.
So,
but it's still, like I said, obviously, because we had winter testing here, you'd sort of think they have a rough idea of which direction to take the car anyway. Surely you want your rookie getting as many laps in as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a weird one, but there we go.
Just Alfa Romeo things. But, I mean, Yuri Vips and Nick de Vries did pretty well. De Vries was actually quicker than Latifi, so, of course, that once again meant that rumours were spiralling that Latifi was definitely out the door this weekend. didn't actually look like a complete mug either during the race, but we'll get onto that later on in the show.
Where credit's due.
And then sort of the only other real talking point, wasn't it, was Bottas had some engine issues in FP2, which kind of foreshadowed part of Ferrari's weekend. But again,
and Alfa Romeo's weekend.
And Alfa Romeo's weekend, to be fair, which, I mean, we'll talk about in just a moment. But qualifying was a fairly... free practice even was a fairly uneventful affair for the most part. Then we get in towards qualifying. Kind of, there was sort of a lot of speculation, wasn't there, Jamie? Where could that Aston Martin be? Could, be a bit of a miracle run? Could we see 2020 version 2 and it sort of battle at the front? No. Both of them went out in Q1 alongside both Williams and then Alonso, who then decided to take some grid penalties.
Yeah, and screw my fantasy team as well.
Yes.
While he was at it.
Why not? Never believe in Alpine.
No, I need to get Ocon in at some point, but I keep believing in Alonso for some reason. But there we go. Vettel was very disappointed.
Yes, yeah.
Because he was like, "Are you kidding?" on the radio when, he did a very good lap. Felt like a good lap, and then he's 16th.
But the thing was as well, and this is something that, again, I'm loving about F1 2022, he was 1 second off Charles Leclerc in Q1, and that didn't see him into Q2, which is just insane.
It's so tight.
And I love it.
Yeah, it's very good. And one thing I was certainly worried for was we saw how close it was last year at the end of a development cycle of 5 years. Usually when you have a rule change, it sets the grid massively apart, but it hasn't happened, so that's really cool.
Exactly, and I mean, really, I would be strongly arguing for the case at the moment is they don't change any of the regs till the end of 2025, because you would see more and more cars being parallel. I
feel like that's a bit too far in the future, but certainly...
But this is obviously when these regs are set up for anyway, and meant to see us through to the end of 2025.
But it's rare that you get even 1 year when nothing changes at all.
No, exactly. I mean, they never would, to be fair. But even if you do sort of a 2020 to 2021, just try and peg 1 or 2 teams back a little bit. Yeah. Try and sort of rig a title or something like that. I don't know. But
the salt has entered the call.
I don't even know why today. Actually, I do know why, to be honest. I watched, Jamie, and I'll give credit where it's due. Actually, I'll try and find it quickly. Just for if anyone's interested. I watched a mini Abu Dhabi, not documentary, but style highlights that someone uploaded earlier this week.
Was it made by a Hamilton fan?
No, it wasn't actually.
Oh, wow.
But I would highly recommend actually giving it a watch if I can find it again. It was only uploaded a few days ago. I'm going to try and find the channel name if you want to quickly talk about something.
Well, I can talk about how Abu Dhabi was just an unfortunate
Please just talk about Spain, preferably.
Yeah, so into Q2. It was fairly uneventful as well, other than right at the end when, Norris was out he was in 12th, I think, or 13th maybe, and then set a time good enough to get into Q3, which knocked out Schumacher, and then his lap time got deleted for running wide at turn 11 or 12, turn 12, which, how you can run wide there and stay out of the gravel trap, I'm not too sure, but he found a way.
Yes, yeah.
So it was quite unfortunate for Lando, but that's the way the rules go. The white lines define the edge of the circuit, and he was over it.
Yeah.
So,
and I kind of got very annoyed after qualifying. Speaking of Lando there, obviously, just the fact he then went, but you can only run like a centimetre out of that corner. Why do we need the white line? And I'm there like, F1 drivers have spent so long moaning the fact that they don't know where the track limits are, and the white line should define it. And now they're told that's where the track limits are. They go, well, you can't run wide here, or you can only run wide here by a tiny bit. What's the point? They're like, just the white line being the track limit makes so much sense.
We all saw USA sports car, IndyCar, something. What was it?
IndyCar a couple of years ago, yeah.
IndyCar.
Dakota was just make your own circuit up.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Indy 500 this weekend. I'm looking forward to that as well. I've found the video as well, by the way, and I'm going to drop this in the Discord for you, Jamie. But
cool.
Genuinely, it's called, for anyone listening, That Night in Abu Dhabi, F1 Formula 1 short film. And even as someone that hates watching that final lap, even to this day, genuinely, I can't describe.
I've watched it many times.
The emotions it gives me. In fact, genuinely, on Drive to Survive and stuff, I switched it off before that lap. I genuinely can't stomach watching it. So that night in Abu Dhabi, a Formula 1 short film uploaded by Formula 1 Edits. even as someone that hates that final lap, the edit is class. It's a 15-minute mini documentary. I would highly recommend everyone gives it a watch. And that's coming from...
And you get to see Verstappen win the title again, so it's all good.
You do unfortunately, see that at the end, yeah. But well worth a watch either way. Sorry, I've kind of gone off the rails there, haven't I,
We were
Jamie?
talking about Q2.
We were talking about Q2.
And Lando was out because he invalidated his lap time.
Yes, and learned to stick between the white lines. Was that what it was it? They kept moaning that he had the sniffles, but they didn't know what it was.
No, he's been diagnosed with tonsillitis now,
just...
which is bad for anyone who was near him, because tonsillitis... Am I wrong? Or is that
don't
contagious?
think it is. No,
I'm not a
might
doctor.
be right. It's never really been relevant for me. Because I had mine...
Well, in my head, anything with itis at the end is contagious.
Tonsillitis is not contagious.
Okay, he's fine then.
Yeah, or everyone around him's fine. He definitely isn't.
Yeah,
if he's got tonsillitis.
Yeah, he couldn't even speak on the radio at the end. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
But
just get those bad boys removed. That's what I did.
Fair play. But there we go. He at the end of race team radio, his engineer was just like, Lando, give me a click if you're alive, basically. And then it was like, okay, and that was it. He didn't even say a word.
No. I mean, I must admit, just the idea of having tonsillitis in a warm, sweaty Formula 1 car is probably not fun, especially if you've got to do laps around Spain.
And he got points. Well, doing laps around Spain isn't fun at the best of
exactly.
times, let alone when you got tonsillitis.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, he did get good points as well, once again. He has been thoroughly whipping Daniel Ricciardo around, like we've seen pretty much ever since Ricciardo joined McLaren.
His stock is through the floor right now.
Yes, yeah.
But there we go.
Then, of course, we got into Q3, though, Jamie, and immediately a little bit of drama. The first properly sort of dramatic part of qualifying. Leclerc, first run, spins it.
Yeah.
In a really weird way.
It was a very weird way. It was similar to his 2020 spin there when the car just broke.
Yes.
But this time, it was completely his own fault. And yeah, at that point, you're like, oh, well, like Verstappen had laid down a pretty good banker lap, like 3/10 clear of anyone else. You're like, well, that's it then. Leclerc, with the pressure on, with one shot at Q3, won't match that time from Verstappen. And then, fair play to him, he did. So there we go. But also worth noting that the second runs in Q3, Verstappen's DRS didn't open.
Well, the second run in the second DRS zone in Q3, do you mean? Because his second run, he never got in.
Well, yeah. So his second DRS zone on his first lap didn't have DRS.
Yes.
And then his second run, it wasn't working at all.
No, he didn't have any power on his second run.
No, it was because the DRS wasn't open. They confirmed afterwards.
Hey?
So he thought it was no power, but it was just because the DRS didn't open on the main straight.
But I thought he slowed down at turn 3, had an engine issue.
Yeah, he did, because he bailed, because he knew he had...
Oh, I thought that was the way the F1 have edited that then. I thought that was an issue, like a separate issue in the end.
No, he lifted off, because he knew it was done.
Right, sorry, that was a bit of confusion from my end then. I mean, even then, surely you don't give up. You just go for it still.
Well, DRS costs you getting on for half a second, probably.
Not round Spain.
I reckon it does.
It probably does, actually. Spain's got a huge DRS zone.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, that second lap from Charles Leclerc was
very
phenomenal.
Good.
Especially when you think the amount of pressure that's on that then, because it's effectively a one-shot qualifying lesson, was fantastic by him, and I was not expecting that. Mega.
No, I wasn't expecting it at all.
Mega through Sector 3, which always basically...
Ferrari were all weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Ferrari have been all year, to be honest. Like we keep saying, the tables have really turned between design philosophies, but that's a good sign for them as we head in towards Monaco this weekend. The only other sort of big talking points then, George Russell, fantastic job, got onto the second row alongside Carlos Sainz there, and then Perez P5 ahead of Hamilton, Bottas, Kevin Magnussen, Ricciardo, and Mick Schumacher. Despite me, like I said, being very, very worried pre-weekend that Haas were just going to fall backwards, both cars into Q3. Shame the race didn't quite go that way.
No, not quite there for Haas in the race. But yeah, on Sunday, did nothing really interesting pre-race, apart from I was watching the Sky build-up, and they kept asking Christian Horner and Max Verstappen, are you worried about your DRS? To which both of them said, no,
nice.
We're not worried. It will work.
It will work sometimes.
Which was foreshadowing.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the only other talking point, wasn't it, was obviously Alonso confirmed to take penalties after qualifying, which we kind of all expected, because why on earth wouldn't you be 4 power units in 6 races into the year? What are Alpine doing, man?
They only power themselves, don't they?
No one else is going to trust that engine.
To be fair, I don't blame the other 9 teams. But yeah, lap 1, Leclerc just drives off into towards turn 1. Verstappen couldn't get past him. Russell and Perez crashed, hit each other. Obviously didn't crash out, but they had contact in turn 1. Don't know how they both survived, really, because it was fairly...
It was a big old hit,
collision.
wasn't it? Yeah.
And then into... that made Sainz back off, trying to avoid Russell and Perez. Hamilton then tries to go around the outside of Sainz at turn 3. Doesn't work. And that allows Magnussen to come at Hamilton. Which, do you want to talk us through as the resident Hamilton fan?
K-Mag turns in on him. No. It was an odd crash, wasn't it? Between K-Mag and Hamilton. I think we can both safely agree. Lap 1 racing incident.
Yeah.
It was kind of... I think the best point of view was actually Mick Schumacher's, wasn't it? And you sort of look at his with the steering inputs. Hamilton gets a tiny bit of understeer because he's on cold rubber and obviously harder rubber as well that he was struggling with. And it kind of looks like K-Mag as well is trying to go to the apex despite the fact there's a car on his inside. So they kind of...
Yeah, he's clearly trying to squeeze Hamilton.
Yeah, and I mean, K-Mag team radio going, Hamilton knew what he was doing. I'm there not quite sure that's it, mate.
No,
to be honest. When we've seen the kind of antics K-Mag gets up to, suck my balls.
Yeah. Well, he would know when drivers are trying to take other drivers out.
Exactly, yeah. K-Mag is prime just...
Well, certainly back in the day.
Yeah,
anyway.
just mega really energy of ballsiness. Ballsiness or stupidity. Sometimes the line was a bit blurred.
Yeah.
But yeah, a racing collision. I think, to be honest, like a lot of people have said, it was a bit unfortunate for both of them. Because they both could have had the potential to run a really solid race, which, I mean, we'll sort of discuss later on. Hamilton got a puncture. I think they both ended up pitting, didn't they? Because K-Mag ended up in a gravel trap. And then, of course, Hamilton... Not happy with the situation.
It was poor on that rate. He's got a bit of history doing this as well. I really didn't like. I mean, Martin Brundle said it on the commentary as well. It's not a nice thing to hear one of the stars of the sport saying, "Let's throw in the towel." 4 laps into a race.
Yeah.
Especially when he's got no damage.
He did have a little bit though. Still, I thought.
I don't know. Maybe he could have had very minor damage on the front wing, maybe on the front corner. But it was still, not exactly the still I rise, never give up attitude that we see battling for wins.
And it's strange, isn't it, with Lewis? Because like you said, we do hear this sometimes. And, I mean, sometimes I sort of wonder whether that's Hamilton saying that to kind of then get the team to motivate him a bit more because he knows deep down that he can do it. Because, of course, he never would just stop the car or anything like that.
Well, Belgium 2014.
Belgium 2014? I thought he had issues, didn't he, there? After Rosberg
No, well, he had the puncture, but he was just running low down and then called it quits. I don't think he had any more issues.
I thought they did there, to be honest.
Maybe, perhaps they did. I can't really remember. But another one, Germany 2019, when he was...
He wanted to again, but he finished and scored a point.
He wanted to. Yeah. He scored 2 points, actually.
Oh, he did, didn't he? Yeah, because
Kubica intense.
Yeah. What a...
But yeah, I don't like to see. I mean, as a non-Hamilton fan, I find it quite funny, but it's not the best attitude from a 7-time world champion.
No, but again, like we've sort of spoke before, can we blame him for still being a bit demotivated at the moment? And especially when you look back after the race at the gaps, and the thing was as well, obviously early on, he was losing time because he then had to go on the soft tyres, which just didn't work. But obviously, when you look at the gaps later on in the race, it did make you wonder, had he not had those issues, what could have been possible?
The Mercedes had a good race car.
They did. We kind of said this recently, haven't we? Their qualifying pace was definitely strong this weekend. And their race pace this year had always been just that little bit better than their qualifying trim. So there really was an element of what could Mercedes do this weekend. Then things got a bit weird, didn't they, Jamie?
Yeah, it was a very strange 10 or 15 laps in the early part of the race. But yeah, Sainz did what he does best and discovered a gravel trap at a Grand Prix circuit for the 3rd time in 6 races.
His tribute to Wu-Tang Clan. You're not going to get that reference. Sorry, I'm really old.
And this time he did keep the car going, to be fair, after spinning, so I'm quite surprised. But that dropped him down behind Russell and anyone else.
I thought he was already behind Russell.
Or maybe he was behind there, but anyway, he found a gravel
he ended up down in like 11th.
Oh yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're thinking of the next driver
thinking
who
of the
also
next
did
one.
a best Carlos
There we go.
Sainz.
Yeah. So we were all laughing on Twitter at Carlos Sainz being Carlos Sainz again. And then, I think, was it the very next lap? Or
Two laps later.
Verstappen did the exact same, and I was like, oh, okay. And then everyone starts blaming oil, which it probably wasn't.
No.
There we go.
No, it was...
But
it was weird.
it was gust of wind, wasn't it? It was
Well,
USA 2015.
apparently it was a gust of wind, but for it to happen to two drivers in very similar fashion seemed a bit odd, but
Yeah.
it was, very, very strange, especially, sort of two of the fastest and two of the most stable cars we've had so far this year, both going
And
off.
uncharacteristic mistakes. I mean, Sainz, I guess, less. But even so, you don't just lose it in a breakdown like that.
No, not the way both those cars went round either.
Yeah.
Very, very weird. But yeah, that then obviously meant, like we said, Sainz was down outside of the points briefly, but, good Ferrari car.
Yeah.
Was able to get back up, nestled inside the top 10. Verstappen then ended up behind Checo and George Russell.
Yeah, where Perez was stuck behind Russell for the whole first stint, basically. Yeah, he did get back towards them really quickly. Perez tried it on Russell a few times, didn't come off. And then they swapped around the Red Bulls, so Verstappen was back into third. Meanwhile, all this is happening, Leclerc's just driving off.
Yeah.
He's just
Leclerc's won this at this point, basically.
Yeah.
He's on a Sunday drive. And
then for some reason, they boxed Verstappen the same lap as Russell, which I really didn't get, because I thought, we knew was his DRS broken by then, or was it just...
it was already broke.
Either way, he couldn't overtake Russell, and they pit them on the same lap, which I really didn't get, because one lap either way, and Verstappen probably gets that position.
Yes. Yeah, I think, to be honest, it sort of looked to me like perhaps Verstappen was struggling on the tyres. We've been stuck in that dirty air. Mercedes kind of knew he'd have to box that lap, and knew obviously he would jump George, so they were kind of like, well, we'll box him at the same time then, and just try to mess him around, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we said though, DRS issues pre-race. Red Bull said it was going to be fine, and then Verstappen starts getting vocal on the radio. But, people like to give Hamilton stick for whinging on the radio.
Yeah.
Verstappen can be... The thing is, they're two very different moaning on the radio, aren't they?
Verstappen's very hot.
Hamilton sort of moans on the radio. Verstappen more cries, I think is a fair statement.
Verstappen's just like the...
He kind of has a
Call
tantrum, doesn't he?
Lobby. Yeah. But, I mean, it's... I would say it's fair. Like, obviously, this driver's emotions are so high in the cockpit.
Yeah, I mean, I find it
for a world championship.
I find it fascinating, when people moan about driver team radios. You go, let's be fair. With the culture in football, half the players would probably end up in prison. The things a lot of them say. The fact that a lot of the F1 stuff is still broadcast live is... I mean, it can be used and twisted, can't it, unfortunately, against certain drivers. And I think it's fair to say... Hamilton has been targeted with it in the past a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And
they're doing it more with
it's
Verstappen.
just to create drama.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, who cares if Mick Schumacher's complaining on the radio? No one. If you got the big
Mick doesn't complain on the radio.
No,
he's the only driver that doesn't.
I picked a bad
even
one
when he
there,
almost took Tsunoda out in Australia in the safety car. He just went like, oh, wow,
like,
didn't he? Yeah.
But yeah, all of them, I'm sure, complain.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just they pick on the ones that will create talking points.
Yes.
So there we go. But yeah, his DRS wasn't working. He was spamming the button, and Codemasters gave him a DRS failure.
Yeah, who said the F1 games were unrealistic?
At least it didn't get stuck open, to be fair.
I did, and that would have made me chuckle.
That would have been very funny, but also really annoying. But there we go. Yeah, they had a pretty decent battle once they worked out how to get the flap open on the rear wing.
But it was only opening... there seemed to
Down
be no
towards
rhyme
turn
or
9 for a
reason.
bit.
It seemed to open down to turn 9 every time, and then out down the front straight away. It was kind of just like, yeah, I'm good actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it meant we got
and
to
then a couple of times it opened and closed because
Yes.
he was spamming the button.
Yeah, it meant we got to see more of the beautiful Bybit logo, though, didn't it, Jamie? Which was nice.
Yeah. You don't unplug that plug anymore.
No, I
There we
don't.
go. Yeah, but they actually had a really good battle.
They
And
did.
interestingly, on the comms, they were like, couldn't remember a time where Russell and Verstappen have battled each other, which is
They
true.
probably haven't, no.
Because, they haven't. But this is the first time, and they both did it very well.
I mean-
So another one of those Verstappen-Leclerc type rivalries.
Yeah, it's
So
we
there
are
we go.
really, this year is kind of that shaping up for the future, isn't it, really? You're getting that sense now. Perhaps we are looking at sort of the next 10 years of Formula One. But of course, hopefully, for one driver, it's not going to be the next 10 years of Formula One. No. Because poor old Charles Leclerc, like we said, dominated this race, had smooth sailing at the front, and his engine goes and does a Ferrari on him. Heartbreaking.
Yeah, suddenly, his engine fails. I don't quite know what it was yet. I don't know if they've
I don't think they've confirmed it still.
Either way, he was going very slowly, and he was out of the race from the lead, which again screwed all our fantasy teams, but that's fine because everyone had every serious player had Leclerc turbo.
Yes. Yeah.
So, so that actually raised Russell into the lead of the race, which
first time Mercedes have led all year, I think.
Probably, maybe a lap or two here and there with pit stops and stuff. But yeah, fair play, George leading the race ahead both Red Bulls. Perez was closing up quickly after he did a very late first stop, while Max is struggling to get by with no DRS.
And still, it's kind of screaming on the radio at the team after they all said it would be fine pre-race.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, it was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it, as well, Jamie? Because there was probably quite a lot going on in the midfield, but we never really got shown any of it, except for Lance Stroll and Pierre Gasly murdering each other at turn 1.
Yeah, and I haven't cared enough to check whose fault that was, but I'd imagine it was Stroll's fault.
A bit of both, to be honest. Stroll kind of squeezed Checo over the inside curb. Yeah. Checo kind of bounces... Gasly even. And then Gasly kind of runs him out wide on the exit, and of course Lance Stroll never gives any extra space, and then just comes off worse, to be honest. A bit of a nothing incident, but just... I mean, Pierre's just had a horrible season so far, hasn't he?
He's not had much luck at all.
No, and I mean, it's...
this whole Spain weekend unravelled when he's lost his engine in practice.
Yes, so. Just more technical issues for Pierre. I mean, even after qualifying, they were sort of apologising to him, weren't they?
Yeah, big problems for Pierre.
Yeah, you kind of just hope it doesn't take away from, a chance maybe elsewhere come the end of the year.
His stock was so high at the end of last season because he's done so well since going back to Toro Rosso / AlphaTauri. And then this season, that momentum seems to have stopped a bit so far.
Yes.
So hopefully it picks up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Tsunoda's been doing well as well, which hasn't helped him.
Yeah.
But then, of course, lap 29, we see Max Verstappen pit. That then unleashes Perez to the back of George Russell and immediately gets around him. And then Max Verstappen on fresh tyres. I'm still not quite sure how he manages this now, but pretty much makes up the pit stop deficit in about 10 laps.
Yeah, it was incredible pace, and I really rate Red Bull for what they did. Because thinking on your feet, if you can't overtake on track, just overtake through the strategy. It's absolute it just throwback to when refueling was a thing.
Yes,
you did all the overtaking in the pits, but it was very clever because I don't think the 3-stop, in the way Max did it at least, was the fastest strategy overall. But in terms of who they had to beat and who they had to get ahead of, they smashed it.
They did do very well in that regard.
Verstappen's race pace on that third stint, I guess, was ridiculous.
Yes, did a banging move on Bottas.
Though Bottas had old tyres, Max had new tyres, and obviously
Bottas tax. Yep.
So, there we go. And Max had closed up the 22-second loss in about around 10 laps on Russell.
Yes,
And then as he caught him, Russell then pit for his second stop.
Yeah.
So
which kind of seemed mad then at that point because they're like, what's the point of trying to hold him up if you're not even going to hold him up?
Yeah.
That basically... I mean, Red Bull, it was quite clear, wasn't it, later on in the afternoon, they definitely had a much quicker
once
car
Leclerc
than
was
Mercedes.
out.
They kind of just...
They always can get one,
Exactly. And then, unfortunately, now this is probably one of the biggest talking points from the weekend, wasn't it, as well, Jamie? I mean, this podcast is called Knowing Wheel. We've seen the sport long enough. We know how these things work. I think we can both safely say, don't we? We're talking about the team orders. Let's get two things straight. We don't like team orders, but we know why they're employed, and Checo was not going to win that race either way.
No. And, people say it's early in the season, but clearly the championship will come down to Leclerc or Verstappen. So why would you throw away the 7 points?
And like a lot of people have said there, they're like, but if Checo wasn't fast enough, then they didn't need to tell him to let Max by. They're like, no, that's...
Just apply some circumstance.
Yeah, exactly.
To it, maybe.
Red Bull, they've already had a few reliability issues this year. The last thing you want to do is stress Max's engine out by leaving it in the wake of a car that he doesn't need to be behind.
And he wouldn't have been for long regardless.
Probably not, no. Unless he'd had more
Especially
DRS
as Perez
issues.
had to do another stop still.
Yes.
Unless he was going to try and go to the
Yeah,
end.
I think he could have, because he only pit on like lap 30 odd, didn't he?
But they gifted him the fastest lap point.
They did, yeah, I was
as
surprised by that.
compensation.
But again...
Yeah, I thought that was nice of Red Bull. They could have easily pitted Verstappen as well.
Yeah.
But Checo got his nice point instead of a race win.
Yeah, I'm sure he's happy with that.
And the fastest lap bonus, I'm sure he's happy with that.
It's probably about 30 pesos for Checo, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I mean, understandably on the other hand, Checo not happy with that. You know, to be fair, his whole race was kind of screwed, wasn't it, through strategy? You know, he was hung out to dry on the first stint. But there's...
And he wasn't even, he was unlucky, but then he is the second driver.
Yeah.
If he doesn't admit that, he's a bit deluded, I think.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because no Formula 1 driver should ever admit they're the second driver. That's 101 of racing. And I'm sure Checo felt within himself, he probably did have a good shot at that race victory. Had he been able to sort of do a completely his own race, I don't think he would have won, but he would have probably been closer to Max. And I'm sure he was just a bit frustrated with it, wasn't he? Which is completely fair at the end of the day, but there's rules in his contract that stipulate if the team tell him to let Max by, he lets Max by.
And he is only in the sport because Red Bull agreed to make him Verstappen's second driver.
I think he would have found a seat elsewhere after 2020.
Yeah, he probably would have found a seat, but not for 2021, I don't think.
I wouldn't have been so sure.
Well, it was the only choice was Albon or Perez, wasn't it? Like, everything else was confirmed.
Yeah, this is Formula 1, Jamie. There could have been plenty of changes.
Yeah,
post-season.
Anything can happen, and usually
exactly. Whilst all this has been going on, though, Hamilton has just weirdly appeared back towards the front. He's kind of just slipped his way through the entire pack, and
we didn't see any of it.
No, exactly.
It was just all focusing on the front. But Hamilton was like sixth.
He
just
was,
out of nowhere.
and Bottas. Shout out to him as well, because he was the only. We talk about how close the midfield is this year. Bottas this weekend, in comparison to everyone else in the midfield, was a bit like that Harry Potter meme, just waving goodbye. Because he was rustling the top guy's feathers all day long, and no one else got close to him out of the midfield.
No, very good race pace from Bottas. You forgot to mention that Zhou had a DNF that wasn't his fault.
I forgot to mention I wasn't really caring, but okay.
That made me really, really sad watching the race, because he was probably could have scraped a point or two, because he was running in 13th.
Oh, yeah, 13th known for being where points are scored.
Well, he was on a different strategy, so he could have got points.
Was his strategy do 30-odd laps and then call it quits?
Yeah. It's easy to do a different strategy if you plan on only doing 30 laps. But there we go. He just overtaken Ricciardo again, as in Miami, and then his car broke. So just stop overtaking Ricciardo, and he might be okay. But yeah, unlucky for Zhou. I'm sure his luck will turn at some point, but he is getting made to look a mug by Bottas in the championship at the minute, which is unfortunate.
Bottas is vibing right now, isn't he? You can tell
he's doing very
he's
well.
A happy man in a happy car.
He's like 2019 Kimi.
Still can't battle anyone, though. Like we said, Verstappen absolutely smashed him in an overtake, which, to be fair, Bottas... There's probably an element of, we're doing really well in this race, we don't want to risk it with anyone, we don't need to.
Yeah.
And then later on in the day, Hamilton goes around him as well through turn... Was it turn 3?
Turn 3, around the outside.
So Hamilton's then back up to 5th, applying pressure to Carlos Sainz onto lap 60. And then on lap 64, both Mercedes turn into teapots as they try and boil water, apparently.
Yeah, was it cooling issue, water leak?
A water leak, on the engine, apparently. Which, I'm no F1 mechanic, but that doesn't sound good.
That doesn't sound like it should happen, no. So they had to completely lift and coast for the remainder of the race. Which is unfortunate. I mean, it didn't cost George anything, but Hamilton immediately had to let Sainz back through, which the crowd all cheered at when it was the most obvious overtake of the day. But there we go. Take what you get. And Hamilton, unfortunately, finished 5th. But his race pace was right there, so I'm sure they can take loads of positives.
Exactly. And I mean, that's something we need to touch upon in just a minute, isn't it? But yeah, Max Verstappen won the Grand Prix ahead of Sergio Perez there. Like we said, George Russell gets yet another podium. He's continued his streak of P4, P5, P3, P4, P5, P3. So Monaco is going to finish P4.
Yep.
But yeah, second podium of the year for George Russell. He is living the dream at the moment. 4th, again, like we said, obviously Carlos Sainz. Then it was Hamilton, Bottas, followed by Ocon, Norris, Alonso. Both Alpines getting points there. And
Alpine race pace was
very good, wasn't it?
especially Alonso started last.
Yeah, Alonso last ninth in the end was a very good job. And then Tsunoda, again, another point
Pops
on the
up in
board.
points again.
Another good job done.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it.
He's a quick little driver, bless him.
Yeah, he's doing well. Fair play.
But
Liam Lawson in the mud.
yes, yeah, exactly. Yuri Vips is going to be the next Red Bull driver. I guess the real question then is, Jamie, really after the race, you sort of look back at the gaps. Hamilton finished, what, 50 seconds behind?
It was 40 seconds behind.
40 seconds behind Verstappen in the end. And at the end of lap 2, he was 55 seconds back. Could there have been a win on the table this weekend for Lewis Hamilton had things gone well?
I don't think so.
Neither do I, unfortunately.
Because obviously the Red Bulls at the front, once they had a big lead, they would have slowed down.
Yes.
And Hamilton would have been running in traffic
Yes.
rather than the free air he had after the first stop.
Yeah, but he had to make a lot of overtakes, though, still.
Yeah, I think most of it was done by strategy, otherwise we would have seen it a bit more.
Yeah. He might have got around Checo, though, mightn't he?
He might have got, definitely around Russell, maybe Perez.
Yeah.
There we go.
But strong signs from Mercedes this weekend.
Mercedes fans, you can come out from under the pillow and start watching the races.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it has been. I think, like like we sort of said, especially because last year ended the way it did. You know, the fact that Hamilton hasn't even had a car that can sort of fight is painful, I must admit. But Mercedes are doing a really good job at the moment getting the car back towards where it needs to be. But again, this is a track that should have suited their car anyway. I'd said sort of since the start of the year, you kind of hope Spain, Monaco can show promising signs for them. Spain has. We'll wait and see whether Monaco does next week.
Hamilton's a bit of a fraud around Monaco.
It's not a track he particularly enjoys, is it?
No.
In the past, but
so we'll have to wait and see.
You never know. You never know. Driver of the day, then, Jamie, from the Spanish Grand Prix. I think.
And you know what I'm going to do, which you would never see coming. I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton.
Good man. Loving that. Loving that.
It was between him or Alonso. Just the old guy is doing well.
Alonso, I think there's got to be a shout out to Leclerc in there as well. Because...
Well, he only did half the race.
Yeah, I know he only did half the race, but let's be fair, he would have dominated that.
Yeah, definitely. But, yeah, Hamilton's always a bit of a wizard around Spain, to be fair. He'd won, 8 times there?
No, 6.
Which is 6 times. Oh, I thought it was 8. Was that poles? I can't remember.
Possibly?
But either way, he's won the last 5 races there in a row
yes.
since Verstappen won in 2016, which is quite mad. So yeah, fair play. Hamilton, the tyre whisperer, which people sleep on him for, but he's actually so good at strategy.
I think the thing is with Hamilton, isn't it? Like, unlike Checo Perez, who's always known as a massive tyre saver, Hamilton is, when he needs to be, incredibly good. He's such a versatile driver, isn't he? Yeah, which a lot of people kind of sleep on because...
Apart from when it comes to racing Verstappen, in which case he's one-dimensional and just takes him out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, Russell and Leclerc have proved you can race against Verstappen without crashing.
Verstappen is driving against... This is something else I wanted to talk about. I was going to do this on an off week, but no, we're bringing it up now then. Verstappen is driving so differently this year because he isn't so scared of these guys like he was at Hamilton. And you can say all you like that Verstappen isn't scared of anyone in Formula 1.
No, he's
he
not.
worried about Hamilton far more than I think a lot of people realise.
Well, he won the title, so it's all good. It's in the past now. It's all good.
That doesn't change whether someone lives rent-free.
What I would absolutely love, is if we get a 2006 scenario next year where we just bin off the Ferraris. Oh. No, bin off the Ferraris, and you get Hamilton and Verstappen just going at it one more time before Hamilton leaves the sport. That'd be amazing.
What worries me is there were so many good bits about last year, and that end of the season completely ruined it for me. I genuinely, now you've said that, don't know whether I want that to happen. I'm not sure I could cope with seeing that. Like, if that all unfolded the way it did again, I genuinely don't think I could cope.
Another year of watching that play out.
Just for that to happen at the end of it would be...
Bring back Michael Massey.
Oh, don't, please. Oh, that's genuinely twisted my brain.
Drive of the day for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, I think fair statement, isn't it? Like we said, shout out to Alonso as well, because he had a fantastic run as well, scoring points from the back. Let's get in then, Jamie, to F1 Fantasy.
Yeah.
How well
screwed
did you do this week? Because I feel like a lot of us got screwed, because if you were sensible, you'd still have Leclerc as your turbo, and that was not a good choice.
No. So I got the inverted Mat 212 and got the race week points of 121.
Fair play to you. That means then another week, Jamie gives me so much stick about my team, and another week I've outscored him. Not by much. I got 127.
Fair play. Well, 6 points, real big difference.
Hey,
there,
I'm putting out that advantage, mate. Have you changed your roster recently? Who are you rocking still?
Not particularly.
You've got Alonso, Leclerc,
Verstappen.
Yeah.
And then Bottas, Magnussen, and Ferrari. It's basically as template as you could get. If you look at most teams, it will be set up like this, with maybe Ocon instead of Alonso.
Yes, yeah.
But it didn't work for me this weekend because
I mean, to
Ferrari
be fair, my team's not looking like a bad shot at the moment, especially if Mercedes are getting there. I'm still rocking.
And Hamilton keeps frauding it as well.
I haven't got Hamilton in my team.
No, but you've got Russell, so he's getting boosted by Hamilton.
Yes, yeah, that's also helped. I've still got Ferrari, but then I've got Perez, who, let's be fair, this year has been very strong. I mean, there's a strong hypothetical that had things gone Checo's way this year, what's the standings looking like?
He's third.
Checo could legitimately be. Let's say hypothetically, he not retired in Bahrain, he could have picked up 15 points there. And had he not been screwed by the safety car at Baku, he could have had, another 12?
We haven't been to Baku.
Jeddah even, I meant, sorry.
Oh, yeah, he was going to win
Let's
that, wasn't he?
that was another
13 points.
Yeah, another 13 points. Jamie, he could be winning this.
He could be leading the championship.
Genuinely be leading the championship, Sergio Perez.
Announce Perez
number one driver. See, if Red Bull stopped rigging their real number one, Perez could legitimately be in the championship.
They've still had the same number of poles, Verstappen and Perez.
Have they? Yeah, Verstappen's only had one still, hasn't he? Because he keeps frauding his last Q3 run.
Lots of points of quali, so it's all good.
Well, yeah. But that Perez could, genuinely have been in the champion. I mean, he's only, 19 points off Charles Leclerc
he's
anyway.
Far off.
He's been mighty. And I mean, we kind of spoke the praises of Checo right at the end of last year, didn't we? He kind of had a bit of a rough patch mid-season and sort of came back and did everything Red Bull needed from him. This year, he has proven, where Sainz hasn't so far about having a number 2.
And where Albon
I thought you were going to say Hamilton then.
No.
But yes, Perez is definitely on Red Bull's payroll for a few more years at least, I think, at the moment, if he keeps driving the way he is. But anyway, back to F1 Fantasy then, before we go into everything else. Do you want to run through our top 10 for this week, Jamie? Or are you going to run through the top 10 so far of the league?
I can do the best of Spain.
The best of Spain?
Which will be very
weird,
differential.
Yeah. It was a weird old week.
So, number 1 with Checo Smiley Face, which is Herman S. Megged Carlos Sainz, which was curious.
Fair play.
Buying into that home, the home race.
How many points did he get with Sainz then? 75?
75, which is not good for a
No,
Mega.
actually, for a Mega driver, that's pretty woeful, isn't it?
Yeah. Perez Turbo, though, with 98.
Oh, right.
And Red Bull. Red Bull as constructor, then Bottas, Norris, and Magnussen as the final
solid
3.
Team.
Quite a long way clear of Du Bois' F1 team, which I think we've seen before from Josephus.
Probably.
The Canadian. He had Perez Turbo, Sainz, Ocon, Bottas, Stroll, and Red Bull. 30 point or around 30.
So did he use a Mega as well then?
No, only one Mega driver in the top 10.
So
that was the leader.
He scored, what was that, 270 points still?
272.
How did he score more than twice us?
Well, no Leclerc and no Ferrari was two
massive point tools. Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
Which, before the weekend, you'd think he's a bit of a clown, but there you go, it worked. So, Team 3 in third place, ironically, with Utku Yu from Turkey, with a cheeky little Alonso, Vettel, Bottas. Wow, that's a really weird team. Alonso, Vettel, Bottas, Perez, Sainz, Red Bull.
Right,
so,
okay.
Perez Turbo. So, no Verstappen, no Leclerc.
That's a brave team.
Fourth place with What Would Maldonado Do? That's a good team name. Fifth place, that's Ryan F in fourth, sorry. Horatio S in fifth. Mansell's Moustache in sixth.
Oh, I remember him from
Max
last
T.
year. He had a class name.
Martin S in seventh. Salomo T in eighth. And Thatcher B in joint eighth with Warren M as well in joint eighth. And loads of people, actually. That must have just been the same team.
Probably.
There's like 16 people on eighth. I can't bother reading
Fair
it
enough.
now. But there you go.
And going through that, Jamie, I don't think anyone in that top 10 is actually in the top 10 in the league overall. Currently...
Well, yeah, probably
No,
not.
currently then, so just do a bit of cross-comparison for me. It's Mr. Labo on top overall, on 1,487 points. He scored 259 in Spain, so he was a little way away there, but he's got both Red Bull drivers, Red Bull, both Haas and Bottas, which is a brave team, but it's working. Sid V, his team 3, is currently still second there, but it's 59 points back behind Larry, so Larry is dominating this league. I'm intrigued to see where he'd be globally. Oliver T in P3 there with Relentless Comics Racing, ahead of That's Gas with Helder M. Zonda D, his team 3, is currently 5th place there, ahead of Edward C in Return of the Mag. Raoul F
I love that team,
with Knatic Racing, even 1,405 points. And then we've got Scuderia Wickham and Team Prost with 2 Canadians there. Timothus W and Peter W tied on 1,400 points square. And then Ferrari Masterplan by Carlos B, rounding out our top 10 there, the Brazilian.
Yeah, no one.
No
one.
one.
The highest was number 1 in our league. Larry was 70 in Spain.
Yeah, and where would 1,487 points place you globally? That's the real question. It would place him... He's top of the world.
Is it?
We've genuinely got the top guy in the world in our league.
To be fair to him, so far, he had an average start, so 282 in Bahrain, 900th in Saudi, 2,500th in Australia. Since then, he's done 28th globally in Imola, 26th globally in Miami, and 17th globally in Spain.
He's mad in it. And
is he a time traveller?
He's got to be, surely. And he's well on his way to win 2 paddock passes for 2023.
Can we have one of them?
Yeah, mate, please. If you're genuinely, if you're watching this and you haven't got a mate to go with,
we'll have both of them.
Yeah, if you don't want to go because you're too worried about doing your research for your fantasy team, we'll quite happily have them off you, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, that is the ultimate long shot of long shots. But yeah, we've now ticked over 4,400 of you in this league, so we've got 100 blessed overall. Jamie, where do you rank currently? Out of 4,405 people.
I am 1,250.
Oh!
Which is
I'm
okay.
catching up at the moment. I'm 880th. My goal is top 1,000.
How many points? What's your total points?
1,153.
Wow, you're 43 ahead of me. That's peak.
I mean, to be fair, it's kind of mad. I'm only first of all that I'm 43 ahead of you because you sweat fantasy leagues like there's no tomorrow.
I do not.
Jamie, you have
a
Twitter chat dedicated to Fantasy Premier League that for some reason
football.
I'm still in.
I put time into that.
Why?
I don't put time into F1 because it's better. It's way better.
Right, okay.
But there you go.
But yeah, 43 points between us, but 400 places as well is kind of mad, isn't it? When you sort of think about it.
Yeah. It's very closely packed in the midfield.
Top guy that hasn't used his Mega Driver then is Mansell's Mustache, and to be fair, if he got 100 bonus points from that, he would be back up to second in the league. So
yeah,
that could be. It is all still to play for at this stage of the year.
Moving into Monaco, that's a segue and a half. I know
we've still got Spain stuff to do, so it's a terrible segue. You've ruined it for us. But yeah, I mean, Larry T, like I said, if you're watching, mate, fair play. And I mean, if you want to bring a mate out to a Grand Prix next year, hit me up, please. Because you are probably going to win
Pick your favourite podcast.
Exactly, please. Yeah, before Jamie, though, tries to segue too early, I mean, this is for your sake more than mine. We've got to go through our predictions recap from last week.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Because I'm so good at predictions.
I don't think we should.
It's ridiculous. Matt forgot to post
I did forget to put a message out on Thursday night, so I apologise.
Was that we both went Leclerc for pole.
2 points in the pack.
Two points secured each. Matt, you went Leclerc win with Max second and Sainz third. So that went well. So there's another 1 point.
3 points for the entire weekend. Yeah. When
out of 8.
It could have easily been 8.
Well, yeah, it could have easily, but there we go. And I went for the classic Verstappen race win. And so that got me 2 nice points and a little Leclerc second, obviously not, and Perez third. So that got me another point. So 5-3 to me this race.
What does that bring the scores to?
The scores overall, I'm on 25 points. Which in 6 races,
out of a possible,
I'm averaging.
Yeah, out of a possible 42, isn't it?
8 a race
plus 2 extra.
The 2 for the sprint. Yeah. Is that
Yeah.
right? 6 lots of 8 is 48. So it's
Oh,
like
50. Sorry, yeah, I thought we'd only have 5.
So I'm
races
getting
in.
a 50%
You're getting
accuracy.
a 50% strike rate, which isn't bad
That's
going.
class. F1's too predictable.
It says the man outside the top 1,000 in my fantasy league.
Well, yeah, I suppose my faith in Alonso is not
Yeah,
going well.
Pain.
But
El Pain.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm.
So it's 25 to me and 60.
Oh, I'm already a
So,
race weekend
yeah.
behind. Oh,
Yeah.
it's not going well. It's not going well. What are we going to give then, Jamie? Let's not forget, this was Spain, and we've been able to stretch a podcast out to over 50 minutes because stuff happened. It was a decent race.
It was good. It was okay for Spain.
Spain was one of
It was good for Spain.
Spain was always one of those weird tracks as well, wasn't it? Because we have that huge front straight, it was always close to potentially being a good race. But now we've got cars that can stick together. I mean, we got proved why we still need DRS in the sport, because Verstappen couldn't get past George Russell. We're still not close enough to getting rid of that. But it was a good race. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
I was going to give it a 7 as well. So there we go.
Good race, but not perfect still.
Yeah.
Bit more to go.
Yeah.
Let's discuss then, Jamie, the Monaco Grand Prix next weekend, the duel in the Formula 1 crown. What are we saying?
There's not, in terms of like news or whatever, like we can only really say we don't know if Norris will be there yet.
He will. He will.
He probably
I mean,
will.
Oscar Piastri debuting at Monaco and winning the race
That'd be so good.
It would be awful for him, though.
Yeah, not the best.
Imagine coming up
time
against
to make your
Ricciardo.
debut.
Remember, he rules these streets.
Oh yeah, he runs those
Yeah.
streets. But yeah, not much to say about Monaco yet, other than it's going to be a very good Saturday.
It's not even a very good Saturday.
And,
It's just a case of...
And then the race will happen as well.
I mean, it's a case of watch the Leclerc take pole and then bin it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will-
But there we go. Are we moving straight into predictions?
Let's get straight into predictions, I reckon.
I will
I'm
go
going
Leclerc
first.
for pole. Okay.
It's still... I get 2 more races. Two more races.
Because going first has really helped you
Shut
out.
up. I am going to go Leclerc pole. I'm gonna actually, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm gonna go against the. I don't. Well, I say I can't believe I'm saying this. This is what I've said basically all season. And he's screwed me so far. Leclerc win. Verstappen P2. I'm gonna say Russell P3.
Wow, fair play.
Wow, you're doing you.
You're going against the Monaco Leclerc curse.
Yeah.
He's
Which
never finished a single-seater race there.
Yeah, been pretty much cursing me this year whenever I pick him anyway, because it's basically just stopped him from winning races. But I just think, Leclerc is such a good qualifier around a track that should suit his car more than Red Bull.
As long as it doesn't break down, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Or he crashes it, like he did to Niki Lauda's car.
That, to be fair, was a brake failure.
That was a brake failure.
So
but it's
we'll
still
let
funny.
him off. Yeah, exactly. The Monaco curse continues.
I will... Problem is, I was literally going to say the exact same thing. I might go a bit rogue then, since I've got such a lead.
K-Mag.
Leclerc pole.
That's not very rogue so far.
No, it's not. I will go Carlos Sainz
Eh?
to take the race win. He's always good around Monaco.
Fair enough. Yeah, actually, it's...
Qualified 5th in a Toro Rosso back in the day.
Yeah.
Verstappen 2nd and Leclerc 3rd. Something's going to happen.
Hamilton
I
2014
don't know what we're taking from pole to 3rd. Yeah. If that comes true, then someone...
I swear to God,
has the lorry
if
numbers.
you get that top 3 correct of Sainz, Verstappen, Leclerc...
I can't wait for the hate comments.
I am going to ban the race predictions thing from the rest of this season. Because you basically are my Larry T. And you keep predicting the future.
I'll take that.
Anything else to add, though, Jamie, before we wrap up this weekend?
I don't think so. I checked Twitter and nothing's happened.
No?
So it's all
Okay, yeah,
good.
that's always a worry now, isn't it? The fact we have to check Twitter between each
Yeah.
one of these. I just want to say as well a massive thank you, as always, for the continued support. We're now incredibly close to 47,000 subscribers. Every week we do this show, I seem to be thanking you guys for another milestone. 3,000 away from 50k. Can we hit it before F122 drops? If you click that subscribe button if you're not already, you'll help us get one step closer. Again, as always, though, as well, like I said, we've been seeing some really good support over on Spotify at the moment, so thank you all so much for the support over there. Thank you, as always, as well, Jamie. It's been a pleasure. Like I said, somehow you keep finding your way into these Discord calls, but I appreciate it nonetheless. And yeah, we will return then next week. The duel in the Formula One crown. We're going back to Monaco, baby. I cannot wait for a 2-hour kip on a Sunday.